Hi everyone, it's Sean here. I am one of the tutors for ENGG1600, and along with Rachel, who unfortunately couldn't be here right now, we're the two markers that will be marking your reflective journals and also most of the work that you'll be doing for ENGG1600. So we thought it'd be a good idea to make a video just to go over the first reflective journal, give you some feedback, especially for the first one, because we want to make sure you're on the right foot from the get-go and you're set up to do well in the rest of your journals. So if you're watching this, thanks for taking the time, and I hope you do well in this course. So without further ado, let's look at some feedback that Rachel and I put together. So the first point there is be personal. Now, when you're writing reflective writing, we really want to see what you think, what you feel. It's really about you. So we want to see a lot of eyes in there, when you're talking. The next one is be careful. A lot of you are very general when you talk about things. You don't give any specific details. And I have a few examples below in my own comments below, so I won't go on about this one. I'll show a bit later. Rachel also says to elaborate on your points. That fits into the two general comment above. So don't worry about writing if it's too long, if it's going to go over a word limit or anything. We'd rather you get your important points across than for you to try and run out of words. Her fourth point was to read the questions. Now, there are a lot of little criteria within each reflection, so make sure you do read them carefully, and have a think about what the question is really asking you. So some of you just read it feels like you've read the first sentence and just assumed the rest of the question and then just tried to answer it, or maybe you started writing and you forgot the second or third part of the question entirely. The next point is to utilize tables, dot points, and graphs. So absolutely, remember, we are engineers. Well, this is majority of you should be engineers in this course, and engineers love concise dot point style writing. So absolutely, feel free to use that. You can use flowcharts, diagrams, anything that will help communicate your reader what you're reflecting about. And the final one is provide as much details as possible. That always helps. So there's Rachel's main comments. In my own comments, I echo a lot of them, and mine go into a little bit more detail. These are my thoughts. So in terms of the stuff that you wrote in your reflection, there were some really good ones, and the really good ones really looked at connecting what they learnt in class, the actual activity, to what the question is asking you to do. And even specifically in the first question this week, it actually asks you to relate your research question, the one that you made in class, to the reflection question itself. It's asking you to create that link and see what's that difference there. So do have a look, and after you read the question, think about what you did in class and how you can write them together into your answer. That will really help you out if you want to get a high mark. Number 2 is be careful when reading the question. So this is pertaining specifically to question 2. In question 2, there were 2 marks assigned to how and when you will apply your own creativity. Now, if we're assigning 2 marks to something, then one of those marks has to go to the how part, and the other mark has to go to the when part. And a lot of students only wrote how they're going to do it. They never gave a time frame of when they're going to apply this newfound process that they reflected on how to improve their creativity. The next point is about question 3. And in question 3, we are often looking to see if you've really, participated in class, have you engaged with the class, have you actually listened to what Lydia is teaching you, and absorbed some of that knowledge that she's imparting on you guys. And sometimes it feels like we're not sure, and we can't really see that because the way you're answering some of the reflective questions, the way you're talking about things are so generalized that they don't give us any idea at all if you've even been to class, or if you say you couldn't go to class, perhaps, if you've even looked at the lecture slides at all, because you've rephrased the question in your own words without giving any content at all. So that's why we couldn't really attribute any marks to your reflection in that case. So yeah, show us that you've pulled some information from class, essentially, is what I'm saying. The last one, question 4. Now, question 4 is a little bit tricky because this one students every year tend to get a bit confused on. But question 4 is really asking all about you. A big summary of how the week's gone, everything you've learned, and how you can take that forward moving forward. And the two ones that people generally miss is the connecting to something that's outside the course. So perhaps you can connect what you learned today to a past event that happened in your childhood, or perhaps in your high school, primary school, where you might have needed to use some creativity, for example, or something that might happen to you in the upcoming future. You know, you can talk about things like that. And again, try and be as specific as possible. So, you know, maybe you're going to an art show in the future, or maybe when you were young, you were asked to do an art piece and you won an art competition. Therefore, you're really creative. Something that shows us you actually thinking about what you're talking about, not just the general expression. And the last one there is the workable action. That's that very last criteria, and that's always a bit of a hit and miss for a lot of students. You really need to be specific on the action you take, because listing an actual action and a time frame and what you're going to do makes it much more likely that you're going to internalize what you've learned, and you're going to carry out that plan. And once you've carried out that plan, you're actually going to learn that skill that we're trying to teach you, whatever that skill was for that week, or that remember that knowledge. So as an example, here's someone saying, I'm going to spend more time to improve my creativity as their final answer. Now, this one's really, really vague, because this quote doesn't give me any information at all. For example, I don't know how much time you're going to spend. When are you going to spend this time? You give me a time frame, you know, any sort of idea of the time frame, how long it will take perhaps, and what exactly are you going to do to improve your creativity? Are you going to perhaps start drawing more? Are you going to play with Lego blocks? Are you going to go look up a YouTube tutorial? Give us some specific information how you're going to do these things. Now, question 4 is really important, because question 4 is actually repeated throughout all the journals that you're going to do. It's the exact same question 4, and it's the exact same criteria we're going to be marking you on. Because of that, you should have a particular look at the journal and hypothesis part. Oh, sorry, the last part of the criteria sheet. So have a look at question 4, this part, all this part down here, and just look at this every time you're going to do question 4 for each of the reflections. Make sure you're hitting each of these points if you want full marks for it. So with all that said, I hope you do well in your future journals and future pieces of assessment, and good luck for your RCOs.